Great about anything. Sir, can you state your name for the record?
I'm Darryl DMC McDaniels.
Could you state for our younger audience what you've done over the years?
Well, people say that because of me and my group, Run DMC,
Yeah.
everything that hip hop exists because of us. We didn't invent it, but we was the first on MTV.
Yeah.
First to go gold, first to go platinum, first to go multi-platinum, first with the big tours, first with the major endorsements. We was the first non-athletic entity to receive a major endorsement from an athletic apparel company. That was in 1986 when we did a deal with Adidas.
Awesome.
So, and Michael Jordan wanted to be with Adidas because Run DMC was with Adidas. So I don't even play basketball, and I got, like, Michael Jordan has his sneaker. We have a deal with Adidas, like Michael Jordan, and I don't even play basketball. So when it comes to hip hop, we basically built this city. If
Yes.
I have to say that.
I would agree with that to an extent. But you've been involved in making comics for how long?
3 years.
For 3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
And that started because before I ever did music, before hip hop came over the bridge from the Bronx, I grew up in Queens, New York. So I would say, let's say 1974. When hip hop came over the bridge from the Bronx into Queens, before music touched my life, all I did was read, collect, and draw comic books.
Awesome, sir.
That was my whole existence. I brought my first comic book when I was actually in kindergarten. And I wasn't really good with the words yet. My brother was 3 years older than me, so he was already in 3rd grade. And the first comic book that I brought, when I was allowed to walk to the store with him, you make sure you hold your brother's hand. I'll never forget the day. We walked in a candy store because they used to sell the comic books at the candy stores. It was either the candy stores or the drug stores, the pharmacies.
Yeah.
We didn't have full-blown comic book stores yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I walked in there, and they said the comic books was always by the newspapers and the magazines. And there was a cover, it was a Batman comic that just caught my eyesight. And it looked powerful, it looked dark, it looked scary, but it looked so cool at the time. And Batman was the first comic book that I brought.
Now, just betting, that was probably a Neil Adams, wasn't it? Or
Yes, it had
just
to
like-
be 19, what,
Because Neil Adams was
69? This was 1969, 69, 70. Who was doing?
If I had to guess, because Neil Adams was big in the 70s, I would have to guess
Okay.
Neil Adams.
So it probably was. If it was 1969, 1969, 1970, I was in. Yeah, 1970, I was in 1st grade.
Okay.
Might have been. So it might have been Neil Adams. If it was 70s, yeah.
Well,
But
I'm just betting. I mean, I know Neil
Yeah.
Adams is big in the 70s,
Yep.
but there were so many.
Because I graduated from elementary school in 78. So if we do, no, it probably was 71 then.
71. Okay.
Yeah, I probably was in kindergarten 70, but it was 1971 when I was in 1st grade. So in between, it probably was Neil Adams.
That's going to bug me, so I'm going to look it up later. I'll tweet
Okay,
you.
yeah.
If I can figure it out, I'll tweet you.
But it was Captain America. That was later. It was Batman. It just looked so awesome.
Yeah. All right.
I bet you they're really young.
Do you want to talk about what would you recommend to people starting out, either in any endeavor that they're going for? What would you recommend to someone starting out, comics or music or?
Oh, the first thing to do, you gotta really love it.
Love it. Okay.
You gotta really you gotta love it so much that you don't want money for it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because put it like this: the thing about loving something that you don't want money for, just by having a love and a passion for it, you already have a knowledge of it. So that love, passion, and knowledge will assist you in an area you never even was thinking of going, that will allow you to be successful. And what I mean by that is, my whole life, all I did was read, collect, and draw comic books. right? Comic books did two things for my actual powerful existence as I sit here in front of this camera. When I was a little kid, all the educators was like, don't let the kids read comic books. They need to read the textbooks and workbooks, which is true. You need to read your textbooks and workbooks. School is very important, but they overlooked the fact that I was reading every day. Because I was reading every day made me one of the best readers in the universe. Secondly, by reading these comic books and having the knowledge that the scholastic educational knowledge I was getting from, that they were so-called teaching me in school, imagination. Albert Einstein said these words: imagination is more important than knowledge. What he means by that, you can have all the knowledge you want, but if you don't have an imagination, nothing manifests, nothing is created. So in school, I would learn about World War II, but when I read Captain America, he would take me there. Think about it, the emotions, the feelings, the physical, the spiritual, all of those things are real. In school, I would learn about the sun, moon, and the stars, and the rings around Saturn, but the Silver Surfer would take me there. So I'm sitting here in this universe with all this power inside me, but nowhere to let it loose. 1974, hip-hop comes over the bridge. Think about it. I'm reading comic books from 70 to 74, well, till about 80. But in 74, hip-hop comes over the bridge. I didn't see it as showbiz, the way to get rich and famous. It hit me like this. Oh, shoot. You could tell stories about who you are over music? So Darryl McDaniels, I went to Catholic school my whole life. Mild-mannered Catholic school kid Darryl McDaniels was able to transform into the mighty king of rock on a microphone. Without rehearsing, without having practice, everything that I needed to manifest, to have my abilities, to do my presentation was already set up from the imagination and the education that I was getting from comic books. If it wasn't for comic books, I would have never got on stage and made a record. So that whole creative, imaginative, so-called corny make-believe thing. Now look at those words right there. You know, as a kid, growing up, I went to Catholic school my whole life. I wore glasses. So I got teased, bullied, and picked on because I was the Catholic school kid that wore glasses and read comic books. You know what I'm saying? But when I got on a microphone, everything I got teased, bullied, and picked on, I was able to rhyme about and shut everybody down. So that preparation within a so-called make-believe, and what I mean by so-called make-believe, look at those words right there. The kids used to always tell me, you into that corny, geeky, nerdy make-believe stuff, and I used to go, yeah, I am. Make-believe, make-believe, make-believe. Make the world believe who you are. You know what I'm saying? If you think you're a knight in shining armor, then tell the world that you're a knight in shining armor, and they'll believe that. When I got on a microphone, I was just pretending to be the most powerful entity in the hip-hop universe. I never had no idea it was going to really manifest in this world. You know, Marvel comic books was my favorite. DC was cool. Batman, Superman, The Flash. Loved to read those, loved to draw those characters. But Marvel, Stan Lee was brilliant because he put the superheroes in New York City.
Now, like, I don't have this because I live in Jersey.
Right.
What was the first time you saw something close to your neighborhood in a book you were reading?
My whole career, I always told y'all on the record, I'm DMC from Hollis, Queens. My name's DMC. I live in Queens. I'm the king from Queens. Peter Parker. Peter Parker was from Queens. So it wasn't make-believe to me. It was real. Spider-Man lives in Queens. I live in Queens. You know how powerful that is? That's crazy. And that's what I mean by, reading Marvel comic books. It was like, whoa, this is real. Because the superheroes is in New York. New York's a real place. Gotham and Metropolis was cool, but they were fictional. The Avengers Mansion was in Manhattan. Every time you would open up a Marvel comic book, you know what I'm saying, like when you're reading Daredevil, you're reading about Hell's Kitchen. real place. The Lower East Side. You know what I'm saying? You were seeing the Empire State Building in the World Trade Center in the Brooklyn Bridge. So when I opened up Marvel comic books, it was crazy. I'm a little kid. I can't even leave the block, but I'm getting a geography lesson about the world that I really live in. So imagine that the so-called make-believe world of Marvel comic books in DC combined with the real world that I lived in. So if I'm living in the real world and I have all of this imagination in these books, what's in these books is real. Just because if I could hold it in my hand, I could read it. You know what I'm saying? I can read a story about Flash or Spider-Man and really feel emotions. If it wasn't real, I wouldn't feel no emotions. So for me, it prepared me for the thing I had no idea that I was going to be put in position to do. Entertain, have fun, but at the same time, I was inspiring, motivating, and educating. Like, you know, when you read Tony Stark's, when you read Batman, when you read Doctor Strange, all of these guys were highly educated. So as a kid who was getting straight A's and was in school and was the brainiac and stuff like that, I couldn't find nothing to relate to in this realm. But in that realm, everything was perfect, fine, and I was worth something. So that's what developed me to have the confidence to become the mighty king of rock. There is none higher. See, my rhymes are like comic books. You get a comic book with me on the cover, and then you open the front page, and the first words are right at king of rock. There is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To burn my kingdom, you can't use fire, and I won't stop rocking till I retire. Drop the music, and I'm going to take you on this adventure.
Sir?
So all of those things were basically, what I was trying to say, all those things were basically parallel.
Sir, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you get back to, because...
yeah, it's my first time here at the Phillipsburg Comic-Con, and it is really awesome.
It's like, this is probably the most perfect small convention I've been to all
Yes,
year, so,
yes, we recommend it.
Recommend it.
To all of you.
Highly.
Highly recommend it.
All right, sir.
They treat, what you would say, they treat us real good when we come in the door.
Oh, yeah, they brought donuts and everything. All right, thank you, sir.